What is happening, people? Frank here from Inside the Garage. On this edition, we're covering how to handle those squeaky brakes. So whether you're trying to do your own brakes, or the fact is maybe you went to the dealer, a brake squeak is extremely frustrating. And today's show, we're going to slow it down. I'm going to show you the top tip. This is the real, the raw on brake tips. Brake pads, that's a big problem. A lot of you guys are putting brake pads on your vehicle and you're getting this part wrong. So let's head over to the bench and talk about the various quality of brake pads. Ceramic, semi-metallic, and the dinosaur organic. You guys have heard about it, the cheap brake pads. You've been preached to. In fact, you probably said, why are they preaching? There is a $9, $10, $11 brake pad. You're gonna pay for what you get. Now, what does that all mean? Well, these old school organic pads, they're available and you will have braking. However, these guys will squeak for one very good reason. And this is the biggest tip I can give you. If you're gonna buy a cheap brake pad, the difference is all to do with these corners here on the edge of the actual lining. Now that edge is really important for one big reason. You guys know brake dust. Brake dust can cause squeaks, especially with these guys with these 90-degree angles. That brake dust is actually going between the pad and the rotor. When you get the premium style brake pads, you're gonna have the beveled edge. That beveled edge is gonna allow that brake dust to go right through the wheels. The next thing is going from organic to semi-metallic. Semi-metallic pads, not a bad brake pad, they're a softer pad. Now don't get complicated, let's keep it simplified. Semi-metallic pads have more metal, iron, copper, all the metals in this pad to help with braking and also dealing with heat. You gotta realize that heat is the enemy to the brake system. Braking is all about how well we stop in relationship to heat, and that's the game changer, is the heat. The better quality that you get into, the better you're gonna handle the heat, which can cause all kinds of problems, including brake squeaks. The next brake pad is your ceramic pads. Ceramic pads are relatively new to the industry in the last 15, 20, inside of 30 years, let's say, and the ceramic is just that. It's like a porcelain kiln. We're heating it up. Ceramics do very well with heat and is your best bet. The only catch with ceramic pads is that they're a much harder pad and you could eat up into brake rotors. Hence, it's really important that if you have a brake squeak with these ceramic pads, get those looked at right away because you could cut into rotors and need brake rotors. Speaking of brake rotors, let's get over to the brake rotors or brake discs. Those are important, and this is what you may be getting wrong with your brake rotors. All right, take the brake rotors really serious, guys. You don't want to skimp. Just like on the brake pads, spend a little bit more, because here's the secret ingredient. No, we don't got a cooking show. This is car care. Secret ingredient is the vanes in the brake rotor. This is the skeletal structure. You won't see this unless you pay close attention to these slots inside between the outboard and the inboard side of that brake rotor. Now, what's the story with the vanes? Well, on a cheaper quality, a less quality brake rotor, you're going to have less vanes. So think about a cooling fan at home, right? You're cooling yourself on, you've got a fan by your bed. If you've got 3 blades and it's 110, that's a problem. You want 5 blades because that's going to move air, and that's the whole concept behind the brake rotor. So get a quality brake rotor so that you can dissipate and move all that heat. Here's a couple of quick tips if you decide that you're going to resurface your own brake rotors. You want to make sure the brake length is set up appropriately, but I got to tell you, more importantly, to reduce that chatter which can cause grooving in brake rotors and cause a brake grind, make sure that you've got a silencer band and the silencer device is placed in here to reduce the chatter when you resurface the rotors. Brake lace has come a long way. Certain cars, you can't pull that rotor. What comes to mind is the GMC Colorado. You need to resurface those rotors with an on-car brake lace. Make sure you check owner's manual and check with your local garage. If they've got an on-car brake lace, that's a win. All right, we talked about, to recap, number 1, brake pads. If you can spend the money on the premium, spend the money. Make sure those brake pads don't have a 90-degree angle. They're beveled. That's going to eliminate some of that brake dust from causing squeaks between the pad and the rotor as it's spinning. Number 2, rotors. Hello, get those rotors, people. Stop skimping on rotors. The vanes, those blades inside that rotor, make sure that they're OE original specification. If they don't have enough vanes, you're going to saturate your brakes with heat, and that's going to cause squeaks along with nasty pulsations. Last tip, don't get complicated. Things can be tight. While it's tight, you're doing this own project, maybe you're buying a lesser quality, an inexpensive brake pad, let's call it good. Now, they may not do well with the noise, and that's okay. You're saying to yourself, I need to stop And as long as I can stop, I'll deal with the noise, whether that be consistent or it's a phantom squeak. Now, the fact is, the lesser quality brakes, you're gonna be using this disc brake quiet stop, stop me noise, instant stop noise, right? You're gonna put it on there. It's gonna be goopity goo on the back side, wedging in between the caliper and the rotor, and it's designed to help minimize vibrations. Think of a clarinet. Blowing through a reeded instrument creates vibration. Very much the same with your brakes. Lower quality brakes that don't have all that hardware or may not have the greatest of composition, you're gonna be pulling this guy out. You guys rock. Thanks for hanging on this edition of Inside the Garage. And don't forget, subscribe, hit that alerts button. I'm here for you. And yes, I do answer every single one of your comments. It means a lot to us. And don't forget, if I've missed something, you mechanics out there, bring it down into the comments. We wanna help as many people as we can. Thanks for hanging on this edition of Inside the Garage.